Brenda Lawson opened her front door and found both of her parents standing there like they had been waiting for a verdict. Her mother's raincoat was soaked at the shoulders. Her father kept one hand tucked under his jacket, gripping a folder tight against his ribs. Behind them, their car was stuffed with boxes, grocery bags, and pillows pressed against the rear window. "Brenda," her mother whispered, grabbing Victor's arm before he could speak. "Please. We didn't know where else to go." Brenda did not move aside. Victor's jaw tightened. "You're really going to leave your parents standing outside?" That sentence used to work on her. For years, all he had to do was say parents, family, sacrifice, and Brenda would swallow every question in her throat. But this time, she saw the packed car. She saw the folder. And she remembered the house. The house she had paid for. 11 years of mortgage payments. Every month since she was 23. Every overtime shift. Every vacation she never took. Every apartment lease she renewed because her parents promised the house was almost paid off and would stay in the family. Then they sold it, without telling her, and kept every dollar. Brenda's hand stayed on the edge of the door. "Where's the money?" Her mother's face changed so quickly Brenda almost missed it. Not guilt. Not sadness. Fear. Victor stepped forward. "That was our house." Brenda's voice stayed quiet. "I paid for it." "You helped," he snapped. "There's a difference." Marlene tightened her grip on his sleeve. "Victor." That was when Brenda noticed the paper sticking out from under his jacket. A folded settlement statement. The top corner showed the old address, the same address Brenda had typed into her bank transfers for more than a decade. Her pulse kicked hard. "Why do you have closing papers with you?" Victor shoved the folder deeper under his coat. "This is none of your business." Marlene looked at Brenda, then at the hallway behind her, as if the apartment itself could overhear them. "Brenda, please," she said. "Don't make your father explain it out here." Brenda's fingers tightened around the door. For once, she did not step back. She did not apologize. She did not make space for them to walk in and turn her home into another place where they controlled the conversation. She looked straight at her father. "What did you sign?" Victor's eyes lifted. Marlene's hand clamped down on his arm. And neither of them answered. Before we continue, drop your city and country in the comments below. And if you enjoy revenge stories like this, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss an update. Brenda opened the door only wide enough for them to step into the entryway. Not the living room. Not the kitchen. Just the narrow strip of tile between the front door and the coat closet. Marlene noticed immediately. Her eyes flicked past Brenda toward the warm lamp near the sofa, the folded blanket on the chair, the untouched space that Brenda had not offered them. "Can we at least sit down?" Marlene asked, her voice softening in that practiced way that usually made Brenda feel cruel for having boundaries. "We can talk here," Brenda said. Victor gave a short laugh. "Here? Like we're strangers selling something door to door?" Brenda looked at the folder under his jacket. "Are you?" Marlene flinched. Victor's mouth tightened, and for a second Brenda saw the familiar storm gathering in his face. The one that used to send her backtracking. The one that made her explain, apologize, shrink. "You're enjoying this," Victor said. "Your mother and I are standing here with nowhere to go, and you're enjoying having power over us." Brenda felt the old reflex rise in her chest. "No, Dad, I'm not. I didn't mean it that way. Come in, please." Instead, she placed her hand against the wall beside the door and said, "I asked where the money went." Victor stared at her as if she had slapped him. Marlene reached for Brenda's wrist. "Honey, it all happened so fast." Brenda pulled her hand back. "Selling a house does not happen fast enough to forget to tell the person paying the mortgage." "You were helping your parents," Victor said. "That's what family does." "For 11 years? You had a place to come home to." Brenda blinked. That line landed exactly where he meant it to. He was reaching back to the 6 months after college, when she had moved into her old bedroom with 2 suitcases, student loans, and a receptionist job that barely covered gas. "I paid rent then," she said. "And groceries. And half the utilities." Victor waved a hand. "You kept receipts on your own parents?" "No," Brenda said. "I kept memories. You're the one making me count them." Marlene's face folded. "Brenda, Please don't talk to your father like that. And there it was. Not the missing money. Not the secret sale. Not the packed car outside. Her tone. Brenda almost laughed, but it came out as a breath. She looked at her mother. When Dad's hours got cut, you cried on my voicemail because you said the bank was going to take the house. Marlene's eyes dropped. You said it would be temporary, Brenda continued. 3 months. Maybe 6. Victor cut in, and things got difficult. They got comfortable, Brenda said. His eyes sharpened. She knew she had hit something real. For years, the arrangement had lived in soft language. Help. Family. Temporary. Sacrifice. They never called it what it was. Brenda carrying the mortgage while they held the keys, the deed, and every answer. When I asked to see the mortgage statement, Brenda said, you told me the bank portal was confusing. Victor scoffed. It was. When I asked after 5 years if my name should be on the deed, you said paperwork would make it feel transactional. Marlene whispered, because it would have hurt him. Brenda turned to her. It was already transactional. I was just the only one paying. Silence pressed into the entryway. Outside, rain tapped against the walkway. The packed car sat under the porch light like proof neither of them could explain away. Marlene wiped under one eye. We were going to tell you about the sale. When? After things settled. They settled 3 months ago, Brenda said. I found out because the buyer's agent called me by mistake. She thought I was you. Marlene's head lifted. That small movement told Brenda more than a denial would have. Victor stepped in front of Marlene slightly. A realtor made a clerical error. That's all. She asked if I wanted the last utility readings sent to the same email as the payment records. Victor's face changed. Brenda saw it. A flash. Quick, controlled, then gone. She had my number, Brenda said. My payment notes. My name attached somewhere it shouldn't have been. Why? Marlene's lips parted, but no sound came out. Victor snapped. Because you inserted yourself into our finances for years, and now you think that entitles you to our property. Brenda stared at him. Our property, she repeated. Yes. The house I paid for. The house we owned. And the money? Victor's answer came too quickly. Debts. What debts? Medical bills. Moving costs. Things you don't know about. Brenda looked past him at the car again. Boxes. Pillows. Grocery bags. No moving truck. No apartment keys. No plan. You sold a house for almost $400,000, she said. If the money went to moving costs, where did you move? Marlene shut her eyes. Victor did not. His expression hardened, but his hand shifted against the folder like he wanted to make sure it was still hidden. Brenda caught the motion. Show me the papers. No. Then leave. Marlene gasped. Brenda. Victor leaned closer. You would throw us out over paperwork? I would keep you out over lies. For a moment, nobody moved. Then Marlene said it so quietly Brenda almost thought she imagined it. It wasn't that much by the end. Brenda turned toward her mother. The rain, the car, Victor's breathing, all of it seemed to fall away. What does that mean? Marlene looked at Victor like she had stepped too close to a ledge. Victor's hand came down hard on the folder, slapping it shut against his side. You were never supposed to see any of those papers. Brenda's phone started buzzing before she even reached the parking lot at work. At first, she ignored it. 1 notification became 3. 3 became 12. By the time she turned off the engine, her screen was filled with messages from people who barely called her unless someone had died, gotten married, or needed money. Then she saw Antonice's name at the top of the family group chat. Antonice, I'm honestly heartbroken. Marlene and Victor showed up soaked and exhausted last night, and Brenda left them outside like strangers after everything they sacrificed for her. Under the message was a photo. Marlene sitting in the passenger seat of the packed car. Her head was bowed. Her hands were folded in her lap. The rain on the window blurred her face, just enough to make her look fragile. Victor was not in the picture. Of course he wasn't. Brenda sat frozen behind the steering wheel as messages stacked beneath it. Cousin Rachel. That's awful. Uncle Phil. No matter what happened, they're still her parents. Antonice. Some people forget who raised them. Evan, Brenda, seriously? You couldn't let them stay one night? Brenda stared at her brother's message longer than the others. Evan had not asked what happened. Nobody had. Her private betrayal had been turned into a public trial before she finished her morning coffee. Her thumb hovered over the keyboard. The old version of her would have typed a paragraph. She would have explained gently. She would have apologized for the parts that were not hers to own. She would have made herself smaller so the family could stay comfortable. Instead, Brenda opened her banking app. She searched the old payment records by the mortgage servicer's name. The list appeared instantly, month after month, year after year, like a ledger of everything she had been trained not to say out loud. She took one screenshot, then another. Then she chose the cleanest one, a full transaction history showing automatic transfers beginning when she was 23 and continuing until the month before the house was sold. She posted it in the family chat with one sentence. I paid the mortgage on that house for 11 years. For almost a full minute, no one responded. Then Aunt Denise typed. Stopped. Typed again. Aunt Denise, what do you mean you paid the mortgage? Brenda walked into the office building with her phone in her hand. Another cousin replied. Rachel, wait. Like help with bills or actually paid it? Brenda typed back while waiting for the elevator. Brenda. Automatic transfers. Every month. Directly to the mortgage servicer. Total is in the screenshot. The elevator doors opened. Her phone rang before she stepped inside. Mom. Brenda let it ring. It rang again. Then Victor's name appeared. She declined that too. By the time she reached her desk, Marlene had left a voicemail. Brenda played it low, holding the phone close to her ear. Brenda, take that down, her mother said, her voice shaking. You are humiliating us. Your aunt is calling me. People are asking questions. Why would you do this to your own family? Brenda looked at the spreadsheet open on her work computer and said to the empty desk, because you did it first. Her phone rang again. This time, Victor. Brenda answered and said nothing. His voice came through tight and controlled. Delete it. No. You don't understand what you're doing. I understand exactly what I'm doing. No, Victor said. You don't. Airing family business will destroy things you don't understand. Brenda leaned back in her chair. Then explain them. Silence. Then his voice dropped. Dropped the attitude. There it was again. Not the sale. Not the money. Not the lie. Her attitude. Brenda ended the call. 10 minutes later, Evan called. She almost ignored him too, but his message appeared before the phone stopped ringing. Evan, I didn't know. Pick up. Brenda answered. Did you know they sold it? No, Evan said quickly. Not until after. They told me they had to because Dad got scammed in some investment thing. They said, you only helped with the mortgage a few times. Brenda closed her eyes. A few times, she repeated. That's what they said, Evan said. His voice sounded smaller now. I thought you were mad because they didn't give you part of the profit. There was profit? I don't know. I thought so. He paused. Brenda, Dad asked me to sign something. Her hand tightened around the phone. What something? A statement. Like a letter. He said it was just for records, saying you never contributed to the house and you had no claim to it. The office noise around Brenda seemed to dim. When? Maybe 2 months ago, Evan said. I refused. I told him it was weird. He got mad and said I was taking your side. Brenda stood up, so fast her chair rolled back into the cubicle wall. What exactly did it say? I didn't read all of it. Just enough to see your name and the address. He said they needed it because the title company was being difficult. Title company. Brenda's mouth went dry. Did Mom know? Evan hesitated. That was answer enough. Brenda left work at lunch and drove straight to the county records office. She barely remembered the ride. Her mind kept replaying Victor's sentence from the night before. You were never supposed to see any of those papers. Inside the records office, the clerk asked for the property address. Brenda gave it from memory. She had typed it into payment memos for 11 years. The clerk printed the public sale record, the deed transfer, and a summary page with the sale price. Brenda stood at the counter and stared at the number. The house had sold for just under $400,000. For one sharp second, rage burned clean through her. Then her eyes moved lower. A payoff line was listed beside the sale. It was too large. Far too large. The remaining mortgage should not have been anywhere near that amount. Not after 11 years of payments. Not after all those transfers. Not unless something else had been attached to the house. Is this the original mortgage payoff? Brenda asked. The clerk shook her head. I can't interpret it for you, but that line usually includes lien payoffs tied to closing. Liens, Brenda repeated. The clerk gave her a careful look. You can request more detailed closing documents through the title company if you're an involved party.
Brenda almost laughed.
An involved party. She had been involved every month when the payment was due. She had just been removed when the money arrived. That evening, Brenda sat in her car outside the records office with the printed documents on her lap. The family chat had gone quiet. Aunt Denise had deleted the photo of Marlene from the car. Evan had sent only one message.
I'm sorry.
I should have asked you first. Brenda did not answer yet. A voicemail appeared from Victor. She pressed play. His voice was quieter now. Not apologetic. Measured. Brenda, listen to me carefully. Drop this before you make us all look worse. The voicemail ended. Before Brenda could lower the phone, a new email appeared. The sender was a woman from the title company. The subject line made Brenda's skin go cold. Brenda Lawson affidavit, seller confirmation. Brenda opened the email in her kitchen with both hands around her phone. The house records were spread across the table in front of her. The county printout, the deed transfer, the sale price, the payoff line that made no sense, and a yellow legal pad where she had written numbers until the ink started to smear under her palm. The email from the title company had one attachment. It was locked. Brenda tapped it anyway. A password box appeared, but behind it, the document preview loaded just long enough for her to see the top third of the first page. Her full name, Brenda Marie Lawson, the old house address, and one line printed beneath it. No ownership, repayment, or reimbursement claim is being asserted by the above-named individual. Brenda stopped breathing for a second. She had never seen that document. She had never signed anything. She had never told anyone she had no claim to the house. The phone slipped lower in her hand, and she stared at the dark kitchen window, where her own reflection looked back at her with the same face that had nodded yes for 11 years because her mother cried and her father raised his voice. Then Brenda sat down, not because she was weak, because if she stayed standing, she was going to throw the phone. She called the number in the email signature. Thank you for calling Westbridge Title. This is Elena. Brenda forced her voice steady. My name is Brenda Lawson. I received an email from your office about an affidavit connected to the sale of my parents' house. There was a pause. Can you confirm the property address? Brenda did. Another pause followed, longer this time. I'm sorry, Elena said carefully. Are you one of the sellers? No, Brenda said. But apparently my name is on a document saying I had no reimbursement claim. I never signed that. I didn't even know the house was being sold. The tone on the other end changed immediately. I'm going to transfer you to compliance. Brenda's fingers tightened around the edge of the table. Compliance. Not customer service. Not records. Compliance. A man answered after a short hold. He introduced himself as Daniel Mercer and asked Brenda to repeat everything slowly. She told him about the 11 years of mortgage payments. She told him about the house sale. She told him about the email she had received by mistake. She told him she had never signed an affidavit and had never agreed to waive anything. Daniel did not accuse her of misunderstanding. He did not rush her off the phone. He became more formal with every answer. Ms. Lawson, he said, I need you to submit a written fraud concern, a copy of your identification, and any documentation showing your connection to the payment history. I can't discuss the full closing file with you yet, but I can flag this internally. Fraud concern. The word sat heavy in the room. For 3 months, Brenda had thought her parents were selfish. Now it sounded like they had been reckless enough to put her name in the middle of something official. She printed the form Daniel emailed her and left it on the kitchen counter, staring at the blank signature line until nearly midnight. The next morning, the pressure followed her to work. Brenda walked into the lobby of the insurance office where she managed client accounts and found Marlene sitting in one of the gray visitor chairs near the front desk. Her mother looked smaller in public. No raincoat this time. Just a beige cardigan, damp hair, and a purse held tight against her stomach. The receptionist glanced at Brenda with wide eyes. She said, "She's your mother." Brenda's throat tightened, but she kept walking. "Marlene," Brenda said, "not Mom. You can't come here." Marlene stood quickly. "I only need 5 minutes. You need to leave." "Please," Marlene whispered, stepping close enough that Brenda could smell her peppermint gum. "Don't do this here." Brenda looked around. 2 co-workers had slowed near the hallway. The receptionist pretended to type. The private shame her parents had created was pressing itself into another public place. Brenda lowered her voice. "Then stop bringing it to my door. Stop bringing it to my job." Marlene's eyes filled. "Your father is not sleeping." Brenda almost smiled at how easily the sentence turned the victim around. "I paid that mortgage for 11 years, she said. "Did he sleep then?" Marlene's mouth trembled. "He was desperate." That word landed differently. Brenda stepped closer. "Did Dad forge my name?" Marlene looked down. The lobby went quiet around them. Brenda repeated it slower. "Did he forge my name?" Marlene did not say no. Instead, she whispered, "You would not have agreed if we had asked." Something inside Brenda went completely still. Not cold. Clear. Marlene reached for her hand. "He didn't mean for it to get this bad." Brenda pulled back. "What else did he do?" Marlene looked toward the glass doors as if Victor might appear there. "There was a loan," she said. "What loan?" "Against the house." Brenda stared at her. "A second mortgage?" Marlene shook her head quickly. "A home equity line. Your father said it was temporary." Temporary. That word again. For 1 second, Brenda was 23, sitting at her parents' kitchen table while Marlene cried into a napkin and Victor said, "Just until I get back on my feet." Brenda's voice dropped. "When?" Marlene swallowed. "Years ago." "How many years?" "I don't know exactly." "Yes, you do." Marlene's eyes flicked to the receptionist, then back to Brenda. After the business partnership failed, Brenda remembered that. Victor had called it a bad month, then a bad quarter. Then he stopped mentioning it. "You used my mortgage payments to keep the original loan current," Brenda said. Marlene's silence confirmed it. "So the house looked stable enough for him to borrow against it. He thought he could fix it." "No," Brenda said. "He thought I would keep covering the part people could see." Marlene's eyes squeezed shut. Brenda felt the room tilt, but she did not move. The numbers suddenly made sense. The large lien payoff, the missing equity, the panic, the packed car, her father's folder, her mother grabbing his arm like one wrong sentence could collapse everything. "Where did the sale money go?" Brenda asked. "Some went to the lien." "How much?" "I don't know." "Where did the rest go?" "Debts," Marlene said quickly. "Credit cards. People your father owed. The car. A short-term rental deposit." "You don't have a rental." Marlene's face crumpled. Brenda understood then. There had been no clean plan. No responsible sale. No hidden apartment waiting somewhere. They had burned through the last of it while pretending they still had the right to ask Brenda for shelter. Her mother stepped closer again. "Please don't ruin him." Brenda looked at her for a long moment. "You both already used me to save him." Marlene covered her mouth with one hand. Brenda turned to the receptionist. "Please call building security if she doesn't leave." Marlene's hand dropped. "Brenda." But Brenda was already walking down the hall. That night, she worked at her kitchen table until the room was lit only by her laptop screen. She downloaded every bank statement she could find. She searched old emails for the mortgage servicer's name. She pulled text messages from Marlene. "Thank you, honey. You're helping us save the house. One day this will all be worth it. Your father doesn't like talking about paperwork, but we know what you've done. This house is your inheritance too." Brenda took screenshots of each message. She found the first automatic transfer from when she was 23. Then the last one, dated weeks before the sale closed. She created a folder on her desktop and named it House Payment Evidence. Then she filled out the title company's fraud concern form. Under the section asking for a brief description, she typed, "My parents sold a house after I paid the mortgage for 11 years. A document bearing my name appears to have been used to state that I had no ownership or reimbursement claim. I did not sign or authorize that document." She attached her ID. She attached the payment history. She attached the texts. Then she hovered over the submit button. For years, this was the moment where Brenda would have heard Victor's voice in her head. "Don't embarrass us. Don't make this bigger than it needs to be. You're being selfish." This time, she clicked send. The confirmation page loaded. A case number appeared. Brenda wrote it down. 3 minutes later, someone pounded on her front door. Not knocked. Pounded. Her whole body jerked. Then Victor's voice came through the wood. "Brenda, open the door." She stood slowly. The pounding came again. "Open this door before you do something you can't undo." Brenda walked to the entryway and looked at the same strip of tile where they had stood 2 nights earlier. The same place where Victor had hidden the folder. The same place where Marlene had begged her not to ask what he signed. Her phone was still in her hand. She opened the recording app, pressed record. Then she stood behind the locked door and said, clear enough for him to hear, "I already did." Brenda did not open the door. She stood with her phone in her hand, the red recording light glowing on the screen, and let her father's fist hit the wood again. "Brenda," Victor said, his voice low and sharp. "I know you can hear me." "I can," she answered. "Then open the door."
No.
There was a pause, and Brenda could picture his face on the other side. The tight jaw, the narrowed eyes, the way he always looked when someone refused to move just because he expected them to. "You think a form makes you powerful," he said. Brenda held the phone closer to the door. "I think records make things clear." He laughed once, but there was no confidence in it. "You're trying to steal from your own parents." Marlene's voice came from behind him, thinner, shaking. "Victor, stop." "No," he snapped. "She wants to play adult? Fine. Let's talk like adults." Brenda stayed still. Victor's voice rose. "You sent money because your mother asked for help. Family help. That's all it was. No judge is going to care that you decided years later you wanted a prize for being a daughter." Brenda looked down at the phone. Recording. Still recording. "You told the title company I had no reimbursement claim," she said. The hallway outside went quiet. Not a pause for breath. A dead stop. Then Marlene made a sound Brenda had never heard from her before. Not crying. Not speaking. Something caught between the two. Brenda continued. "They have the affidavit. They have my name. And now they have my fraud complaint." Victor did not answer. For the first time in Brenda's life, silence came from him instead of pressure. She stepped closer to the door, keeping the chain latched and the lock turned. "I know about the mortgage payments. I know about the home equity line. I know about the lien payoff. I know the house sold for almost $400,000, and I know most of that money was gone before you ever packed the car." Marlene started crying openly then. Victor said, "You don't know what you're talking about." "I know enough," Brenda said. "So you can explain it through attorneys, or you can keep screaming in my hallway while my phone records every word." Another silence. Then Victor's footsteps shifted back. Marlene stayed. Brenda heard her mother's palm touch the door, soft and flat against the other side. "We're going to pay you back when things settled," Marlene whispered. Brenda closed her eyes. For 11 years, settled had been a place just over the horizon. After Victor got steadier hours. After the mortgage got smaller. After the holidays. After Evan got through another rough patch. After Brenda stopped asking for paperwork. After everyone else was comfortable. She opened her eyes and answered, "You sold the only thing you promised would settle it." Marlene sobbed once. Then her hand slid down the door. Victor muttered something Brenda could not make out, and a moment later, their footsteps moved away from her apartment. Brenda kept recording until she heard the elevator doors close. Only then did she let herself breathe. The full truth came out in pieces over the next several weeks, but none of it surprised Brenda the way her mother's silence in that lobby had. Her attorney requested the disputed paperwork from the title company after Brenda submitted her bank statements, screenshots, identification, and written fraud concern. The closing file showed exactly what Victor had tried to hide. Brenda's actual signature was not on the deed, but her name had been used in a seller-side affidavit connected to the sale file. The document stated that Brenda Lawson had no ownership interest in the property, no repayment claim, and no reimbursement claim tied to the house. It was not some harmless misunderstanding. It was the piece Victor needed after questions came up about Brenda's repeated payments connected to the mortgage. Her name had appeared in payment notes and forwarded records, and instead of telling the truth, Victor had tried to make her disappear from the transaction. That was why he carried the folder to her door. That was why Marlene grabbed his arm. That was why they showed up after the money was gone, hoping guilt would work before paperwork did. The rest of the records filled in the damage. Years earlier, after Victor lost money in a failed business partnership, he opened a home equity line against the house. He did not tell Brenda. He did not tell most of the family. Brenda's payments kept the original mortgage current, which made the house look stable from the outside while equity was being drained from the inside. Every month Brenda sent money. She thought she was helping save the family home. In reality, she was helping Victor keep the visible debt clean while he buried the hidden one deeper. When the house finally sold, the numbers made sense in the worst way. A large amount went to the lien payoff. More went to credit cards. Some went to people Victor had borrowed from privately. Some disappeared into short-term housing, a used car, and expenses Marlene could barely explain without looking at the floor. There had been no safety net, no apartment waiting, no plan, just the same expectation they had always had. When everything collapsed, Brenda would absorb the impact. This time, she did not. The family group chat changed after Evan sent his screenshots. He posted the messages where Victor had asked him to sign a statement saying Brenda had never contributed to the house. Evan wrote one sentence under them. "I should have told Brenda when this happened. I'm sorry." Aunt Denise deleted the photo of Marlene in the car. Then she called Brenda, crying so hard Brenda could barely understand her. "I didn't know," Denise said. "Your mother told me you were punishing them over inheritance money." Brenda stood at her kitchen counter, looking at the folder of printed bank statements. "I wasn't fighting over inheritance. I was fighting over what I already paid." "I'm ashamed," Denise whispered. Brenda did not comfort her. She simply said, "You should have asked me before you posted." After that, the calls to Brenda slowed. The calls to Victor and Marlene increased. Cousins who had called Brenda cruel stopped speaking to Victor. An uncle who had once praised him for keeping the family home together asked him in front of everyone at a Sunday dinner how much of the mortgage Brenda had paid. Victor left before dessert. Marlene tried to repair the story in smaller ways. She left voicemails late at night. "I know you're hurt." Then, "Your father made mistakes, but he loves you." Then, "I'm your mother, Brenda. You can't just erase me." Brenda saved every message. She did not answer. Legally, the house could not simply be taken back. The buyer had purchased it through closing, and Brenda's attorney made that clear from the beginning. But Brenda did not need a movie-style reversal to win. She needed the truth documented where Victor could no longer talk over it. Her attorney filed a civil claim for reimbursement and fraud-related damages. The title company opened an internal review. Victor had to hire counsel. For the first time, he could not end the conversation by raising his voice, calling Brenda selfish, or hiding behind the word family. He had to respond on paper. And paper was the one place Brenda had him cornered. Her bank records showed more than $150,000 in mortgage payments over 11 years. Her text messages showed Marlene repeatedly describing the house as what you're helping us save and your inheritance too. Evan's screenshots showed Victor knew Brenda's contributions mattered enough that he tried to erase them. The settlement did not hand Brenda back her 20s. It did not give her back the birthdays she spent working overtime, or the vacation she canceled, or the small apartment she stayed in while paying for a house she was never allowed to own. But it did turn her invisible sacrifice into a documented debt. Victor agreed to a repayment settlement to avoid deeper legal exposure. Part of his remaining retirement funds was assigned toward Brenda's claim, along with monthly payments through a formal agreement. The amount was not enough to make the betrayal disappear. It was enough to make him lose the thing he had protected most: control. Marlene moved in with Aunt Denise for a while. Victor rented a small room from someone he used to work with. The family stopped treating them like unlucky parents and started treating them like people who had taken from their daughter until there was nothing left to take. Brenda did not celebrate it. She just stopped carrying it. 3 months later, she sat in a small conference room at a bank and signed her name on a stack of papers for a townhouse on the edge of town. The loan officer slid the final page toward her and smiled. "Congratulations, Ms. Lawson. This one is yours." Brenda looked at the words. Her name only. No verbal promises. No family agreement. No father explaining why paperwork would ruin the feeling. No mother crying until Brenda folded. Just ink, signatures, keys, and a door that no one else had a right to open. On moving day, Evan showed up with coffee and a borrowed pickup truck. He carried boxes into the living room without making jokes, without asking for forgiveness every 5 minutes, without trying to make the day about himself. Near sunset, he set a box labeled kitchen on the counter and looked around. "It's quiet," he said. Brenda smiled faintly. "That's why I like it." He leaned against the counter. "Do you think they'll ever admit what they did?" Brenda walked to the front door. The evening light came through the small window at the top, falling across the clean floor in a soft rectangle. For a second, she remembered her parents on the porch, soaked and desperate, trying to enter her life again before the truth caught up with them. Then she remembered Victor's silence when she said affidavit. She remembered Marlene whispering, "You would not have agreed if we had asked." Brenda picked up her new keys from the counter.
They already did, she said.
They just didn't mean to do it out loud. That night, after Evan left, Brenda locked the door from the inside. She walked through each room slowly. The bedroom with no old guilt inside it. The kitchen with no hidden envelopes. The living room where no one had ever stood and told her she owed them shelter after stealing the house she paid for. Her phone buzzed once on the counter. A voicemail from Marlene. Brenda looked at it. Then she turned the phone face down. She set her keys beside it, switched off the kitchen light, and stood in the quiet until it stopped feeling empty and started feeling safe. For the first time in 11 years, the house Brenda paid for was the house she got to keep.